Hey guys, Caleb here. I'm going to go over the multi-tier trailing feature that we just pushed out to everybody. So let's talk about this real quick. All right, so if you're familiar with trailing stops, it's going to be very similar, except it has multi-tier. So what do we mean by that? Okay, so let's say you have your normal trailing mode, and you want your trailing trigger, which is what causes your trailing stop loss to activate. Okay, so up to this point, up to that 10% or whatever you have it set, it is going to be at your entry stop loss. So when you enter a trade, your stop loss will be whatever this says here. Okay, and that's not going to move. It's just going to be set. And it'll stay there until you get to whatever amount of profit that you want the stop loss to start trailing that. And basically the reason for that is, as price is going up, if we leave our stop loss there, it has a long way to retrace before we get back down. If it's trailing behind, it's going to hopefully secure some of that profit and lock it in as the price goes up. The reason for the multi-trail is that, let's say we have a 10% trigger at a 20% stop loss trail. Okay, so what that means is as price goes up to 10%, once it hits 10%, your stop loss is going to move up to 20% below the price. And then as this goes up, so say this goes up to 50%, the price just keeps on cruising up to 50%, then your 20% stop loss will be at 30% profit. Does that make sense? So 50 minus 20 would be right around in 30%. Okay, so some of you have watched your trades go up to 50 and then watched it come back down to 30 and thought, man, it would be cool if I could get out more up at that 50 level, right? So that's what we're addressing here. So how do we do that? Well, let's do this. So we turn it on, and then I usually convert current settings, which means basically it's going to take your current stop trigger and stop loss amount and convert it over to the first tier. So let's just go convert settings. Okay, cool. All right. And this actually, I was messing with it earlier, so I actually did all this. So let's delete all this. Let's pretend none of this exists. Okay. So this would be your regular trailing trigger right here. Okay, so let's say at 10%, we want to trail by 25%. All right, so now let's add another one. Okay, so let's say at 20%, we want to trail by, let's say, 15%. And then at, let's see, at 30%, yeah, let's go 10, and then let's go one more here. Let's say once we get to 50%, then we'll trail by 5. Okay, so what this is going to do is as price is moving up, you'll have different trail triggers that will tighten as it goes. Okay, so it'll get much closer to the current price. So it's going to be from 10% up to 19% profit. You're going to be trailing by 25%. Once it hits 20%, you're now going to be trailing by 15%. Okay, so let's say it went up to 25% profit. If you were still at this original trailing stop loss and it went up to 25 and then went back down to 0, okay, you would be at 0% profit for if you just had this trail, because this is trailing 25% behind and we went up to 25%, so it would come back down to 0. If we had this trigger, it would go up to 20, start trailing by 15%, so if we went up to 25%, be 25 minus 15, so you would actually lock in 10% profit, okay, where this one would be 0, so this one would be 10. So it's going to be at a 15% trail up to 29%. Once it reaches 30%, then we're going to tighten it even more to a 10%. Same thing all the way up to 50 and then a 5%. So 5% trail is basically where it's going to stop out unless it's really, price is ripping up. It's just going high and this is going to fall really tightly. And as soon as it kind of dips down a little bit, you're going to be out. So this is the benefit of that. So Rico actually did a great graphic for us explaining this. So you can see here. So this is taking a $1.96 price entry with a static trail, which I'll go over that in a second. Quantity 5. So his entry, basically total cost of this trade is $9.80. So if you were to trail by 26% and it went up to 50%, okay? Then when the price came back down to that 26% trail, you would have made $235, which is pretty good. I mean, that's great. However, if you had that trail trigger follow you, okay? So at 6%, you're at 26%. Then he has here at 20%. It's going to tighten to 15. Okay, it looks like he's still at 30. It's at 15. 40, he's going to tighten it down to 10. 50 will be at 5. So it's following up the whole way, okay? And then if you were to take this exact same trade, assuming that it just kind of went very easily up to the 50 mark, then you would have 441 because it would lock in that price, okay? But it also could stop you out earlier. So if it stopped you out earlier, these are the different prices that you would be at as it's going up, okay? So if you got stopped out at 15% at 20, or 15% at 30, or 10% at 40, okay? So these are all here. So you can see that the profit you made without trailing on the multi-tier at a 26% trail is somewhere in between where you would have been between 30, so let's say like 35% with the multi-tier. So you can actually lock in profit a lot sooner with that. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, these are the trails, and you can have up to 5, or you can have 2, you can have 3, whatever. So one of the things to remember that is as you tighten this stop loss amount, it gives it a lot less wiggle room, right? So as price is going up, if it's going up pretty steadily, it's going up, it's going up, it's going to follow, it's going to hit those price triggers, your stop loss is going to follow, and you're going to lock in a lot of trade. If it goes up, you know, bouncing around a lot, you're probably going to stop out on these because you don't have as much room to move, okay? So that's kind of the trade-off. You're locking in profit as it goes up, but you're also taking away the ability for it to move. So mess around with it, see what you think. If you have questions about how it actually, you know, if I haven't explained something well enough, we have documentation, or just hit me up. Happy to help. Just a friendly reminder that after you're done changing anything in your settings, you want to hit the save button. That's the only way that it's going to change, okay? Or if you don't want to do anything, discard changes, boom, and you're back to wherever you started. Cool? Right on, guys. Thanks. It's a pleasure working alongside with you. It's an honor trading with you, and hope you have a good rest of your night. Peace.